Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, An Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 6, Date Night. Now, you remember I said in the This Week in Comics, where I talk about all the new comics that are coming out, the following day, the day before most people have access to them? Yeah, I said, this one looks great just because of the cover and the name alone. Yeah, I was wrong. This is an absolutely fantastic comic book, totally worthy of the name amazing, of the adjective amazing. Wow! Wow, wow, wow! So this is The Amazing Spider-Man Trivial Pursuit. A Trivial Pursuit, more specifically, Part 1. Nick Spencer is the writer, Humberto Ramos is the penciler, Victor Olazaba is the inker, Edgar Delgado is the colorist, VC's Joe Caramonga is the letterer, and Humberto Ramos and Edgar Delgado also did the covers. Paul Renaud did a Ghost Rider Versus cover, and I don't know why, but there's a special thanks to Antonio Ruiz, so I'll give you the same thanks. Anyway, Stanley and Steve Ditko created The Amazing Spider-Man. So we get the Vulture. You see that in the previews. Vulture is trying to take out this one dude. He technically succeeds, but in the meantime, a really funny interaction with frickin' Black Ant. I died. I died reading this, dude. And seeing Taskmaster and Black Ant working together, who the hell ever thought that was going to be a great team? But man, I love these guys working together. And they are out collecting supervillains, apparently. So they've collected the Vulture. Dude, really? Really? Is that how we're forming a Sinister Six now? I'm down. I'm down. This was very cool. I loved this. Moving on, we see the absolute creeper that is Boomerang, and we learn a lot more about him than I thought we were going to. We are reminded now that he used to be a mob boss during the Secret Empire days. I love how Nick Spencer knows how to just, your average chess player who you consider a good chess player, all right? I'm a good chess player, a decent, more than decent, I would think, chess player, all right? I think on average I win more than I lose when I play against, regular people. If I play against somebody else who's really good, yeah, not so good. But I can think about 5 moves ahead. You know what I'm saying? I can try and finagle someone into tricking them into playing certain moves, through conversation or otherwise. But Nick Spencer, I think, is the type of chess player, if he does play chess, if he did play chess, who would think about 15 moves or more in advance, because this dude is just amazing. You go back and you look at all the spoilers that were in Pleasant Hill for what he's going to be doing in the future, right? Now you look at what he's been doing in Secret Empire, and holy crap. Just a little tiny seed here and there of, oh yeah, Boomerang, he started a little mob boss thing. What was he going to do with that? I had no idea what he was going to do with that. And I was also a very new comic book reader, a new comic book reviewer. But I really didn't know enough about Nick Spencer at the time. If you remember, I started reviewing comic books not too long before Secret Empire came out. When Pleasant Hill actually started and all that stuff, I was actually still in Saudi Arabia. You know what I'm saying? So I had no access to comic books. So I had to do a lot of catching up when I came back. And man, really sick, really amazing stuff here. So you see him plant that seed, and here's Boomerang now, and we're seeing all this stuff unfold. We're seeing what he's actually going to be doing with Boomerang now. And it's awesome. And we see the supervillains version of a card game. And we also see, this is the best part, dude. Boomerang takes Peter Parker, not Spider-Man, Peter Parker to the bar with no name. There's been a lot of bar with no name this year, hasn't there? Bar with no name is showing up all over the place. It just recently showed up in Phil Noto and Charles Soules' Daredevil, man. What's up with that? So, just bar with no name everywhere at this point. But it's here, and the reason why Boomerang wants to take Peter Parker specifically is because he realized that Peter Parker has this extensive knowledge of Spider-Man, and tonight happens to be, here's the name of the title, a Trivial Pursuit night, talking about who knows Spider-Man better. Oh my God, this was great. You want to know who won? Okay, by all means, buy the book. Dude, don't be a thrifty, skimpy cheapskate, all right? Go out and buy the freaking book. These are really good stories, man, all right? If you didn't like Secret Empire, fine. This is an entirely different story, man. And Nick Spencer's wrote more books that you liked than you didn't like. So maybe consider that, all right? More importantly, it's funny, I mentioned before, I met Nick Spencer and Humberto Ramos recently at Fan Expo Canada. Both great people. I got to say, Humberto's a lot more warm than Nick was. Nick was like, I think he was a little bit nervous because I talked about how big his balls were. I'll get into that in a moment. But Humberto was like the best dude. Like, I just wanted to hug the dude. And I kind of regret not returning the hug because I felt that it was a little bit too overreaching and maybe he would get a little weirded out. But, like, it very platonic, very like, you're a fan, I love you, and yes, I'm a fan of you, and I love you too, man. And yeah, I probably should hug him back. But anyway, totally awesome, amazing guy, just the best, the absolute best. Definitely cares about his fans. God bless that dude, As far as Nick Spencer and his balls, when I met him, I was like, dude, you have got the biggest balls in the world to have turned Captain America evil. And I'm saying straight out, flat out, dude, like, I can't lie. I'm not a lying type. I felt that Secret Empire fell a little flat, but all that considered, it was an amazing story. I loved it. I can't wait to see where you're going with it. Still, I'm glad that you're still doing comic books. I'm sorry that, you decided to say F you to Twitter and move on, but you're the best. You're the absolute best. And yeah. And he was a little bit weirded out, I think, by the big balls comment, but I'm going to continue that in this particular conversation. I want you to think about how brazen Nick Spencer is. This dude just wrote a comic book. Where was Spider-Man? Seriously, where was Spider-Man in this comic book? He was in maybe two panels when he was spying on the Sinister Six, reunion tour where they were playing poker with each other. I think Ben Grimm and his group were in the next room, but that would have been funny. But seriously, man, where was Spider-Man in this comic? There was no Spider-Man. There was some action, a little bit of action, but there was no Spider-Man. And before I said anything, how many of you noticed it? This was badass and brazen as hell, all right? But I'm going to take this even a step further. Not only did Nick Spencer dare to write a Spider-Man comic book where Spider-Man, for the most part, really wasn't in it. More than that, he did something that I think that a lot of us can appreciate. He pointed out just how amazing Peter Parker is also, the amazing Peter Parker, right? That should be a title. That should be a title of a limited series where there is no Spider-Man in this comic book at all, only Peter Parker. And yes, I want Nick Spencer to write it, if he's got a good idea for it, and I'm positive he does. But the point is, this dude just showed us, he reminded us what we already know. Why do we like Superman? Superman is God, man. We can't be like Superman. He's God. Batman is the guy who we Superman has a totally awesome symbol on him, but like we worship Superman comic book wise. You know what I'm saying? As far as Batman is concerned, why do we love Batman? Because he's what we could all aspire to be, right? Totally unrealistic. But we could totally aspire to be like him and fail miserably. But boom, there we go. And if you want proof that we could all fail miserably, how many Batmans are there? Exactly. So, I'm sorry, I'm going with the scientific analysis here. But what we love about Spider-Man is very different from Peter Parker, even though they're the exact same people, all right? Their lives, they've got separate lives in many ways. Do you remember back when Spider-Man was doing it with Black Cat and Peter Parker was with Mary Jane? All of Peter's relationships, everything, that's who Peter Parker is. And Spider-Man is his own entity. When Nick Spencer split up Spider-Man and Peter Parker in the recent arc in this comic book, it was noticeable, and he knew where to put each part so that we would recognize the two as actual independent entities. And here, he's still got them split up just a little bit. Why do we care about Spider-Man so much? He's not Batman. We can't aspire to be him. He's not Superman. We're not going to freaking worship him. You know what I'm saying? But like Captain America is Captain America whether he's Steve Rogers or not. The Hulk and Bruce Banner are so completely different. Let's be realistic. We're all just waiting. Banner's doing his thing. We're just waiting for the Hulk to emerge and get Banner out of whatever trouble he got himself into. And that's still technically happening right now. In Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk book. And that's not a knock in any way, shape, or form. But that's what Bruce Banner is. The only time that really changed was when the Banner Tech stories came out, and a lot of people didn't like that. I'm not one of them. That was my favorite version of Bruce Banner. Oh my God, I wish I could have that again. But I'm good with Immortal Hulk. You know what I'm saying? So most characters, they're indistinguishable, or who the hell cares between their secret identity and their superhero identity. But Peter Parker, Spider-Man, they are independent stories that still mesh with each other perfectly. And that's always been the case. That's one of the main reasons why we always love Spider-Man, because he is the most relatable character there is in comic books. That's why somebody with the brain and the balls of Nick Spencer, sorry dude, can write a book titled The Amazing Spider-Man, and aside from 2 panels that really didn't amount to much of anything, this was all about Peter Parker. And it was a goddamn good comic book. And I look forward to more of these. Anyway, I know you got to mix up and throw some Spider-Man in there before people start going, hey man, this is a really good comic, but where's Spider-Man? I get it. You got to cater to the masses at some point. But he's writing his own stories, and I'm in love with the stories that he's writing. Dude, it takes a lot to have an Amazing Spider-Man book where there's no Spider-Man. I see you, man. I see you. All right, guys. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.